Dear Class 9 students, we are going to learn about one of the saintly fathers of the Church who was persecuted in the name of Christ. This lesson is taken from chapter 25 of Sunday School textbook, His Grace Alvariz Mar Yulios. Unlike the other metropolitans of Orthodox Church, this church father was born non-Malayali. He has had a very difficult Christian life, but he fought it till the end. And I can assure you that his life is worth knowing in every detail. Let us see who was Alvariz, what was his background, his connection with Roman Catholic Church, and more importantly, his role in Malankara Syrian Orthodox Church. Antonio Francis Xavier Alvariz was born on April 29, 1836 to a Goan Roman Catholic family in Varna, Goa. Alvariz was very kind-hearted towards the suffering of the people. He wanted to become a priest and he studied in Catholic seminary in Goa. In 1862, he was appointed as a priest of the Roman Catholic Church in Bombay. That's right, Roman Catholic Church. Father Alvariz was then appointed by the Archbishop of Goa to minister the Catholics in Goa. As a priest and a staunch freedom fighter of Goa, the eminent personality, Father Alvariz, served in his land for spiritual and social upliftment of his countrymen for a span of 18 years during 1869 to 1887. His patriotism and work to improve the life of the poor in Goa led to the development of a large following of Padre Alvariz. From Roman Catholicism to Orthodoxy. At Alvariz's time in Goa, taking for granted the fact that Goa was a Catholic-dominated area, the Church tried to interfere in the state administration and did not discourage false devotion by the Church members. The Portuguese government also started interfering in the matters of the Church. Alvarez Termini was against this and tried to stand as a corrective force. He started writing articles against the colonial rule. His first magazine, A Cruz, which meant the cross, successfully exposed the government. But it was banned by the Archbishop of Goa at that time, Dom Sebastio Antonio Valente, whose pic you can see on the right-hand side. Then Father Alvariz started a newspaper of his own, Verdad, meaning the truth. Father Alvariz also wrote for various newspapers including Times of Goa. But all his work was banned and forced to stop publication after a few years. This was because he was writing against the government and against the Church. Padre Alvariz could not withstand the harassment meted out to him by the ecclesiastical and civil powers. Father Alvariz was in search of true faith and right nationalism. He went to Travancore and contacted the then Malankara Metropolitan Mar Joseph Dionysius Pulicotal Tirmeni, who directed him to Mar Gregorios of Parimula. From here, Father Alvariz started his journey with Orthodox Church. Father Alvariz was profoundly impressed by these great and pious personalities. He embraced the Orthodox Syrian Church in 1887. Parimula Mar Gregorios, Metropolitan of Malankara Orthodox Church at that time, ordained Father Alvariz to the monastic order of Ramban. Soon in 1889, he was consecrated as a metropolitan with title Alvariz Mar Yulios at the Old Seminary, Kottayam, by 4 prominent metropolitans. They are marked here in the photograph. Metropolitan of Pulicotal, Mar Joseph Dionysius II, who is marked in red. Paulos Mar Athanasius of Kadavil, who is marked in blue. Saint Georgis Mar Gregorios, also known as Parimula Tirmeni, marked in green. And Paulos Mar Ivanos of Kandanar. You can also see that Alvariz Mar Yulios Tirmeni is marked in yellow. The newly consecrated Metropolitan, Mar Yulios, was appointed as the Archbishop with the jurisdiction of Ceylon, which is present-day Sri Lanka, and Goa in India excluding Malabar region. Shown in the pic is the headquarters in Ceylon of the churches of Mar Yulios. Ministry of Mar Yulios. Since Tirumeni was not allowed by the rulers to work freely in Goa, he was mostly based in Kannada region of Karnataka, with the main base at Brahmavar, where he started his Brahmavar mission in 1888. This mission was started in order to give spiritual leadership and to help them to learn liturgy and catechism of the church for those people who newly joined the Orthodox Church from the surrounding regions. He, along with his friend, Reverend Father Roque Zephyrin Nurono, worked among the people along the west coast of India from Mangalore to Bombay. About 5,000 families joined the Orthodox Church from this region. They started the Malankara Syrian worship and Kurbana. Even though many of the families went back to Roman Catholic fold after His Holiness passed away, the region now falls under the newly formed Brahmavar diocese and has strong Orthodox Christian population. Tirumeni worked in Brahmavar till 1913. Then he returned to his homeland Goa. Even though the Roman Catholics after his conversion propagated many to stay away from him, the common people he helped saw him as a living saint that beggars, nomads and orphans went to. Alvariz Tirumeni was a great scholar and a man of high principles. He opened a college where Goan priests were teaching Portuguese, Latin, French and philosophy. In 1912, before coming to Goa, Mar Yulios had opened an English school in Panaji. Both operated for a short time. At that time, Goa was frequently affected by epidemics like malaria, typhoid, smallpox, cholera, and plague. Metropolitan published booklets on treatment of cholera and cultivation of tapioca. He was so concerned about shortage of food in Goa that he appealed to the people to produce cheaper food. Though Portuguese government dubbed him as a traitor, later he was considered by them, all the Goans, as an apostle of charity. In 1871, he had started a charitable association in Panaji to help the poor, beginning with wandering beggars. After a few years, he extended the association to other cities in Goa. During the last 10 years of his life, he concentrated his activities in Panaji. His home for the poor was having lepers, TB patients, scavengers, beggars, and all other destitute as inmates. Since he had no income, he was forced to beg with a bowl in one hand and a stick in the other hand for support. Remember, Tirumeni was more than 70-year-old when he begged for the poor. A martyr. During the final years of his life, this saintly Tirumeni suffered a lot of persecution. He was arrested by the government, had his episcopal vestments removed and locked up in jail. He was beaten up, but when he was presented in court, the justice found him innocent. This happened twice. Tirumeni was not allowed to use his episcopal vestments, including his ring or cross. His last days were in Ribandar Hospital, a charitable institution in Panjim, Goa. He was ill with dysentery. On 23rd September in 1923, His Grace entered into eternal abode. It was his wish to be buried by the Orthodox designates. He was specific not to have any Catholic priest doing the rituals. The Citizen Committee, led by the Chief Justice, arranged a grand funeral. Though Tirumeni was considered an enemy by the government, the Governor-General sent his representative to pay tribute to him. Thousands of people, especially poor and beggars, paid their last respects. The funeral procession, winding all the main roads of Panaji, was taken, and the body was laid to rest in a secluded corner of St. Ines Panaji Cemetery on 24th September 1923, the next day, without any funeral rites. 4 years later, In 1927, his bones were collected by his friends and admirers, placed in a lead box, and reburied under a marble slab with the inscription, "In memory of priest Antonio Francis Xavier Alvarez, who was a humanitarian missionary and a great patriot." For 40 long years, nobody visited the grave. In 1967, Metropolitan Matthews Mar Athanasius of the outside Kerala diocese inquired and found the grave in St. Inek's Municipal Cemetery during his visit to Goa. A small church was constructed in Ribandar, and in 1979, the holy relics were finally placed in the St. Mary's Orthodox Church in Ribandar by Metropolitan Dr. Philippos Mar Theophilos of the Bombay Diocese. The St. Mary's Orthodox Syrian Church, Ribandar Panaji, celebrates his Dukrono Memorial Feast every year in September during the week following 23rd to honor His Holiness. In the honor of this great apostle of charity and martyr, in December 2015, His Grace Alvariz Mar Yulios was canonized as a local saint by our present Metropolitan, His Holiness Catholicos Paulos II, during the second Kurbana offered at St. Mary's Orthodox Syrian Cathedral, Brahmavar. Father Nurono was declared as a regional saint too. During his lifetime, His Grace Mar Yulios was known as an educator, social worker, apostle of charity, and patriot. In the face of severe persecution, he stood for his faith. With time, more and more miracles were testified through his intercession. With this, we have come to the conclusion on the life of Alvariz Mar Yulios. Hope you have understood and learned from this small video lesson. Please read your Sunday school textbook and try to answer the questions on your own. Few references which were used to make this video are given in the description area. Feel free to browse to know more details. Thank you for your time. Stay blessed in the grace of God.